Shalom, Yeshua, giving all praise and glory to the most high power, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. His word to be praised for everything. I say hello, Yah, to his glorious and holy name. We're going through these scriptures today. There's a lot of things going on in the world, but we got to stay focused on what we need to do and knowing the things that we need to do through these scriptures. So we're going to look at, as always, I'm going to start off with Colossians 3 and 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. Giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. So all that we're saying do is going to be in the name of the Lord and Savior. And we give thanks to the Most High power, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob being the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, Asher, and Issachar. He said that's his name forever and memorial to all generations. So that's what we're how we rolling, in the name of the Lord and Savior. Say no man come to the Father but by him, and these words be praised for everything. That's why we got to have a relationship with him if we think we're going to make it through these trying times that we see looking us right in the face. A beautiful time for us to be living in this time, to be able to deal with the things that are happening on this earth. So let's look at it. I want to go into the Greek Empire, because it's the first empire of the so-called white man. I want to show you why a lot of times, people don't realize in the so-called New Testament why we were calling ourselves Gentiles. And it's so important because we just read, you've been taught by the heathens, which you shouldn't have been. It never should have happened as far as them teaching us, because Most High didn't call them to bring forth this Bible. Psalms 147, 19 and 20 say, Yeshua's word to Jacob, his statutes and his judgment to Israel, have not dealt with any other nation, any nation. As for his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye the Most High. So he only showed his word to the 12 tribes of Israel, who we are. So when you look at the book of, by the time you get to the last prophet, Malachi, you're in the Persian Medes Empire. The same ones that they're fighting right now, Iran, Persians, Their prophecy is concerning that they're not going to fold. They're not folding. And they say they're not surrendering, so the things that's written in this Bible, it's going to happen. Now we're going to look at why, like I said, when you get to Malachi, the last prophet in the Old Testament, we're in the Persian Medes Empire. You understand? Dad's in captivity too. The ones that they fighting, the Iranians and so forth, was in captivity under them. So now, the Greek Empire came in power, taking the Persian Mede out, Alexander the Greek. So that's in First Maccabees and Second Maccabees, in the Apocrypha that they took out of the Bible. They took this out of the Bible. So most people don't know anything about, history anyway, as far as dealing with the Bible as a history book. They just look at it as something to go in there to look at a scripture that'll make them feel a certain way, or, receive a certain reaction behind what that scripture says, and trying to draw everybody in to the premise of this Bible is for everybody when it's not for everyone. Let me show you why you see Paul going to the Israelites that are in these other lands. Just like our job right now, if you don't know that you're Israelite, our job is just like Paul's, to bring you back to the sheepfold. And once you come back to the sheepfold, to show you of the fear of the Most High, and to keep his commandments, have faith in him, cry unto him, all these things you got to do. But how you come back to as an Israelite, but you don't know what to do once you are an Israelite, as far as to get closer and closer to the Most High, because that's what matters. Anything other than that, what difference do it make? You got something more important than getting closer to the Most High? And what we're supposed to do to get closer to him? That's what it's all about. So let me show you what happened. Because when you get to Malachi, like I said, you're in the Persian Medes Empire. You know anything about history. Then you get to the book of Matthew, you have that blank page, you go to Matthew, you in the Roman Empire. Romulus and Remus, you know, named after Romulus. The Romans, named after him. So you're in the Roman Empire. So if you go to any type of Christian sanity, religious, any of them, if you ain't dealing with history, you can't. What you read? How you reading the Bible with understanding? Tell me that. You should be able to look at this Bible and go, okay, Daniel, where we at as a people? We the Israelites. We in captivity, slavery and bondage. Majority of the time, you read Daniel, he's in captivity. Ezekiel, you know what I mean? We in captivity. So when you look at Matthew, we're in the Roman Empire. So what happened? We're gonna go to the Greek Empire and show you exactly what happened. Some things that happened, because these are things very important to know, because the Apocrypha has power that has been taken away from the majority of the people because they don't even know that it exists. You get the original King James 611 Bible, it's right there, 14 books that they took out, you see. So let's look at 2 Maccabees, the 6th chapter. We're looking at Alexander died. Let me just give you a scenario. He died, he ruled from 20 years old to 32 years old. And he set up 4 generals to rule his kingdom once he died. So this wicked king called Antiochus Epiphanes, he's ruling, and that's what he's talking about when he's here, king here. Wicked. But Israelites were wicked too. So let me show you. 2 Maccabees 6:1. It says, not long after this, the king, who was King Antiochus Epiphanes, of the Seleucus dynasty, one of Alexander's generals that he set up to rule after he died, sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers, you see, an elder. So, because he knew even this wicked king Antiochus Epiphanes knew that we had respect for the elders, for our elders. That's why he chose an elder man to go to try and talk to us about what? And it's always been like this. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. See? Like you're not under the law now, right? Right? Many Christian Sanity Church, they mainly talking about we not under the law. We're under grace. So you see here, it didn't just start when you was born and you coming into this world, or however you was raised. It didn't start there. It started long time ago. Right? We in the Greek Empire. We're not even in the Roman. I'm not checking Shai haven't even appeared on the earth yet. You see? So here it is. Not long after, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. That's what it's all about, y'all. But we got to continue to push. We got to keep the laws and teach our people the laws and how it got to be actually to be in line with the Most High. And not to live after the laws of the Most High, you see? Same thing we're looking at now. What does it say? To depart from the laws of their fathers, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and not to live after the laws of the Most High. You see that? That's wicked. That's wicked you could be. Not to live after the laws of the Most High. Sound familiar? We ain't under the law. We're under grace. Same thing y'all doing now. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympians, dealing with going all the way back to Zeus, man, whose last name is Amen. I've showed this over and over again. You got to get with that. And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. You see, that's what they were doing. So follow the way of the heathen. When the Most High told us in Jeremiah 10:2, learn not the way of the heathen. But here it is. the coming in of this mischief. See, it's not something that's, you can look at it. Not keeping the Most High's laws, you're in mischief. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. For the temple was filled with riot. This is our church. This is our temple. Filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, by these other nations, who dallied with harlots, prostitutes, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, man, selling their bodies in the church, in the temples, for money, having sex in the temple. Harlots is prostitute. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. You see? To profane, to make the temple unholy. The altar also was filled with profane, unholy things, which the law forbiddeth, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. You see? You see this? This in the Greek Empire. So by the time you get to the New Testament, naturally we're not saying that we're Israelites, because you see here, it was against the law for us to call ourselves a Jew, an Israelite. And this is what it says. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. Confess himself at all to be an Israelite. Period. Couldn't keep the Sabbath days. You couldn't keep the ancient feasts. Took away. Just like y'all don't keep the Sabbath days, y'all don't keep the ancient feasts. What you keep? You follow the way of the heathen. Y'all getting ready for what? 4th of July. You know. Then what? Labor Day, Memorial, Labor Day, then Halloween, all of that. And have it up in the church. That wicked day. Man. And the number one celebration of the Satanists is your birthday. Now listen at this. That's the number one celebration. Look it up for yourself. That's their number one celebration, is their birthday. And look what happened. And in the day of the king's birth, his birthday, every month they were brought by bitter constraint. We didn't like to do this, to eat of the sacrifices. Man, the sacrifices, they sacrificing pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, you name it, man. All kind of stuff that's abominable, it's said. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, and I'm spelling it because most I said don't let the name of these other idols come out of your mouth. They even mention them. He said the Jews were compelled to go in possession to Bacchus, carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions. This is another general, Ptolemy. Observe the same fashion, hear that? Against the Jews, not with the Jews, but against the Jews, because it was against us to do the things like we didn't celebrate birthdays. Show me where, somebody tell me out there, when is Isaiah's birthday? What about Jeremiah's birthday? Show me where he celebrated his birthday. Daniel, when was he born? Wouldn't it be important? Mashiach Shai, when he celebrated his 25th birthday. How about the 27th birthday? What about Paul? When was he born? Peter? Somebody, you gotta tell me, somebody that celebrated their birthday, had a birthday party. Somebody had a birthday party, right? They celebrate their birthday. You don't see it. Verse 8 says, moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen. These are the nations outside of the 12 tribes of Israel, by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, against us Israelites, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. I mean, we had to eat pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, whatever they could do, dog, cat, whatever, rats, whatever, to put on the altar. They defile us, profane me to make us unholy. That's what they done. They don't have to do it now. Y'all just do it naturally. Eat everything you can think of and won't think of. You better read Leviticus 11th chapter for the dietary laws and tell you. And whosoever would not conform, mean you got to change, conform themselves to the matters of the Gentiles, the matters of these other nations, should be put to death. So if you didn't participate and operate as they would have you operate, he said you're supposed to be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery, man. It was killing us. Because you know everybody's not going to denounce who they are and what they're going to do. Then a man might have seen the present misery, right? Verse 10, it says, but there were two women, listen, but there were two women brought. That's why I say it's a lot of things that got to be paid back, because there were two women brought who had circumcised their children. That was against the law too, to circumcise your children. You couldn't circumcise your boys on the 8th day when they were born. Or you couldn't teach them the truth. Being circumcised is learning this truth too. And the women, they taught the babies from birth to 5 years old. But there were two women brought who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led around about the city, they openly led these two women around about the city, the babes, that's their babies, hanging at their breasts. So they tied the babies to their breasts and they drugged them around the city for all to see. They took two women that had circumcised their children and the babes hanging at their breasts, it says. They tied the babies to their breasts and drug them around the city. They cast them down headlong from the wall, then threw them off a wall, headlong, straight up. The women and the babies threw them off the wall. That's how serious it is. This is like a way of making everybody conform to the wicked way that they would have us to do, take us away from the Most High. That's why it's so important to come back to Him, because they don't want you or any of us to come back to the Most High and do what He say do. That's why you see what's important if they said this old man should what? Verse 1 says what? The king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. Ain't nothing new under the sun. And not to live after the laws of the Most High. Now you tell me that ain't what's happening right now. When they say, we're not under the law. That's what they say. We're not under the law. But we under grace. What's the difference? Huh? And you're a Gentile, grafted in, but you don't know who you've been grafted in among. Huh? What's the difference? That's what you see here. We becoming Gentiles. You would have said, verse 9, and whosoever would not conform themselves to the matters of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. It goes on to tell you about some of the misery. When you look at how, sad to say, they took two women and they tied the babies to their breasts and drug them all around the city. And then they threw them down from the wall on their head with the babies. And with the babies. Verse 11. And others that had run together into caves. So some of us ran into caves. These are we, the Israelites, nearby, to keep the Sabbath day secretly, because it was against the law to keep the Sabbath day. Remember, it says it was against the law to keep the Sabbath days. If you did, you could be put to death. That was the law. What would it said in verse 9? Whosoever did not follow the custom of these heathen will be put to death. So it tell you. And others, after they done killed the women and tied the babies on their breasts and threw them headlong over the wall, and so they done drug them around the city all day. It probably was like a corpse anyway, skin all peeled off of them. Put that in your mind, man, so you know. And others that had run together in 2 caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together. They keeping the Sabbath day. And they burn them all up together because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day, the Sabbath day. The most sacred day, the most highest 7th day of the week. Or it could have been for a feast day. The feast days, the most high feast days are Sabbath days also. It's cold, man. Verse 12. Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nature. For breaking the Most High's laws. And who the Most High loveth, he chastens. Verse 13. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. What he's saying? For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers, like they done, those wicked doers until this day, are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. Meaning they're going to be punished in the future. For not as with other nations, whom the Most High patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. You see, lest that being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us, no matter how it looks. And though he punish with adversity, yet does he never forsake his people. He never forsake his people. Even though we be dipped in a fiery furnace, in many ways, shapes, and forms, he said he never forsake his people. He said, but let this that we are spoken be for a warning unto us. And now will we come to the declaring of the matter in few words. Now it goes to talk about an elder, Eleazar. Eleazar, y'all can see why they would take the Apocrypha out of the Bible. Listen at this. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes. It's an elder. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. Remember, they brought all kind of unclean animals that was unlawful, and they made us eat them. But here go this aged man, Eleazar. Let's see how he feel about it. These are examples that we can look at, talk about calling your answers. That's what we're doing right now. And we see the results of how they operated, okay? Eleazar, an aged man. Yeah. And of a well-favored countenance, when he was handsome, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. Think about it. I wonder if this happened to some of y'all out there right now, would you just open your mouth and eat this pig? But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. What did he say, verse 9? And whoso would not conform themselves to the matters of the Gentiles, the so-called white men and all the other nations that was following the way that they had us following, wanted us to follow, should be put to death. You hear that? And whoso would not conform themselves, you got to change. Conformance means you have to change yourself to the matters of the Gentiles, should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery they put us through. And it's an aged man, Eleazar, elder of elders. They conformed him, trying to conform him to open his mouth and eat swine's flesh, right? Verse 19. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination. Hear that? So when y'all eat pork, all you out there, all you pork eaters, he said, that's an abomination. And it tells you that in the law. Get that. Let's go to Leviticus 11th chapter. So you see how we were. Leviticus 11th chapter, just the dietary law. Leviticus 11th chapter. We're going to look at verse 7 and 8. That says, and the swine, that's the pig, that y'all getting ready to barbecue for 4th of July? And the swine, the pig, the hog, though he divided the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. See? That's why it says abomination. Of their flesh shall ye not eat. So y'all out there eating pig, you better stop. And their carcasses shall ye not touch. They're unclean to you. You see? We're not supposed to be eating pig, pork. That's why you say, hey, he wouldn't eat it. Now, you can think in your wildest dream, you can keep eating it if you want to. Y'all say y'all got the Holy Spirit. Y'all rolling it with the Holy Spirit and all that. You better understand, man. Mosiah not playing, y'all. Y'all messing around with the wrong one. Let me show you. Let me show you something, because a lot of y'all think it's okay. It's not okay. There's a judgment, especially when y'all call yourself saying y'all got the Holy Ghost, y'all got the Holy Spirit, you got the Spirit of the Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua in you, and you giving them that. You giving them pork, shrimp, crab, lobster, all these abominable things that eat doo-doo. Think about that, y'all. You don't understand, man. This is serious as serious could be. Look, go to, this is judgment. Isaiah 66:15. It said, for behold, the Most High, Mashiach Yahushua, Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua, you'll sit on Mashiach Yahushua, the judge and make war. He's sitting on the judgment seat. Will come with fire. He come with fire. And with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury. He's going to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Come on with that fire, y'all. Fury and flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Most High plead with all flesh. And the slain of the Most High shall be many. Meaning he's going to kill a lot of people. The slain of the Most High shall be many. Who is he going to kill with this fire? Who he going to burn up? He says, they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, eating the pig, eating the hog, eating pork, and the abomination. That's why I tell you, you better read Leviticus 11th chapter and see what's clean and what's unclean. So you know what's good to eat in the eyes of the Most High. That's what we're trying to please him. And y'all say y'all got him inside of you. And you feeding them doo-doo, things that eat doo-doo. Come on, think about it. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, eating the pig, eating the hog, and the abomination, everything else that's abominable that they put on the altar and made us eat in the Greek Empire, the so-called white man's first empire. This is what they did. And the mouths, it says, shall be consumed together. That's the judgment. You're going to be consumed together. Who said it? Said the Most High. So if I know their works and their thoughts, you know what you're thinking right now. And you know that anybody tell me I can't eat no pork. I'm eating much pork as I want to. And you're going to go back there and eat some more pork. What you say? I know your thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations in tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. They're going to come and see my shot as he come to judge and make war. You better understand or overstand this, man. This is real. So now, we're going back to 2nd Ezra 6. Now we know the judgment. Why he's saying what? They say, open your mouth and take this swine's flesh, right? Verse 19 of 2 Maccabees 6 chapter. He said, but he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment. They were tormenting us. As it behooved them to come, that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. Hear that? The love of life not to be tasted anything that's abominable, as the Most High just told us. But they that had the charge of that wicked feast, it ain't no, see, I'm saying, y'all got this feast, 4th of July, whenever y'all eating y'all pork. You got your ham, your honey glazed ham, during your different holidays that y'all celebrate, that they set up for you to follow, and not the Most High's holy days to follow. You can read them in Leviticus 23rd chapter. You know, come on. You got to change. But they that had the charge of that wickedness, that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside. They pulled him aside. You know, they had charge. They were in charge of this wicked feast. They pulled Eleazar aside, besought him to bring flesh of his own provision, to bring some flesh that you could eat, that's lawful, like some lamb or some goat, such as was lawful for him to use, right? Say, switch it up, you know, bring something that you can eat, that's lawful. And make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. You see how wicked they were? Knowing that we're not supposed to eat these things, they made sure that the sanctuary was defiled with these things. The temple was defiled, the altar was defiled with these things, and they made us eat abomination. Sin, sin, sin. Now y'all got the nerve to say, the Most High loved a sinner, but he hate the sin. Come on, man. That's not true. Let me end that right quick. You got to hear this over and over again because that's not true. This is why they took the Apocrypha out. Look. Ecclesiasticus 12:6. For the Most High hateth sinners. That's contrary to what you've been taught. The Most High hateth sinners and will repay vengeance unto the unrighteous and keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. He gonna judge you, man. Punish you. And to be righteous is to keep the commandments of the Most High. But everybody want to do like they want to do because they want to follow their own. You've been programmed to follow your own mind, however you feel. It's not what the scripture says. You see, you say he waiting to get you, punish you. So they said, hey, his friends that knew him, they was like, hey man, take some of this, go, get your own provision, get your own meat that you can actually eat. That's okay. That's not an abomination. He said, I'm going through the torment, man. He already said that. That in so doing, he might be delivered from death. Pretending like he's eating some swine, some abomination. He can be delivered from death. Follow what the king wanted him to do. And for the old friendship with them, find favor. With the old friendship with them, find favor. And him doing this, and he could live and do what they wanted him to do. Listen, but he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age and the excellency of his ancient years and the honor of his gray hair, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child, being an Israelite, or rather the holy law made and given by the Most High that we read in Leviticus 11:7 and 8, and the judgment for eating the abomination. Therefore, he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. Hear that? He told them straightway, send me to the grave. He already said he went to the torment. They trying to keep him from being killed. He said, send me to the grave. This our ancestors. This my ancestors. I don't know about y'all. Look what it said. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise do this assemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and 10, which a score is 20 years, so 80 years old is 80 years old plus 10, that's 90 years old. Being 90 years old, were now gone to a strange religion. So all these religions, that's why I call them Christian sanity. All these religions are strange religions because they're not dealing with what? Keeping the laws of the Most High, keeping the commandments of the Most High. Which one? Name them. I've been waiting. Which one? Name them. They're not. And you see, this is where it comes from, way back here. So by just we're in the Greek Empire. By the time you get to Roman Empire, the New Testament, we already saying we ain't no Israelites. We ain't thinking about being, under the Most High's rules and regulations. Put it like that. Why you see Gentiles, Jew into the Gentile? Yeah, because we were Hellenized, which means we're Greek-speaking Jews. We took on the customs of the Greeks, like you see right now, right here. And when we go through the Feast of Dedication every year, we go all the way into it. You see what I'm saying? Verse 24, but it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to disassemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, 90 years old, an elder of elders, being 80 years old and 10, 90 years old, were now gone to a strange religion. And that's what y'all all about. Strange religions to this day. Y'all deal with strange religions. All these religions, strange religions, stemming from the Catholic Church. And so they, through mind hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, because he's 90 years old. He's like, man, come on, man. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to do whatever they say do. How long I'm going to live after that? And then what happens after he died? Remember, when that final judgment comes, what are you going to get? We just read about it. That punishment, you know. We burned up with that fire, man. Come on. Y'all can play Most High lightly if you want to. It was clear what I heard, what you hear. He going to burn them up. He going to consume those that eat the swine, the pork, the catfish, the crabs, the lobster, everything he do to oysters, you know, and all the things that you can think of, shrimp, that clean up the waters and so forth. He said he going to get them. He going to get you. He going to judge you, man. That's what you got to look at this, man. Just how strong our ancestors were. But now a bunch of weak people, man. Y'all a bunch of weak people. Not everybody, but a lot of you are, because you looking at this and you're trying, you got to understand, you got to fight with the Most High, because the world have you feeling a certain way. A lot of you are the world. You claim to be Israelite. You ain't no Israelite till you not of the world. You know, and your feelings you get caught up in feelings, man. That's your desire. That's lust, man. How you feel, that's pride. You go back to your pride. You got to give it up, man. You let your body be a living sacrifice. You got to take some things. You can't take, I don't know how you're going to handle Hamashiach Yahushua. In these times that we in now, what you going to do when war hit America? Huh? What's your rescue, you know, what you going to do then? Because it's coming. Because it's written it's coming. Unless you don't believe in the Bible. Too many prophecies. That's all I used to teach was, it's coming here. Bam, what you going to do now? And you're really looking at what our ancestors did and how it was, looking at how they knew we got something better than this. It ain't the white man telling us we're going to go to heaven and have somewhere up in the sky somewhere. We're going to reign on this earth. We got next forever, never, never. Straight up. That's what the Bible's talking about. You know, but you got to be worthy. We got to be worthy to be in that next kingdom that's going to last forever, never, never, never. That's why, look at what he said. Not only him, it's going to get even better. I love this story right here. That's why I had something else that just, man, said, go into this. It's very important. You need to hear this. Verse 25. And so they, through my hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer than being 90 years old, which he was, to be deceived by me. Hear that? And I get a stain to mine own age, to my old age, and make it abominable. You hear that? That's how serious this is. He said, I will get a stain to my old age and make my life abominable. But y'all just take it lightly. Like, Most High know my heart, Most High know my spirit. I'm in the spirit. Yeah, right. But though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, this is what he say. Yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead. Ain't none of us can escape the hand of the Most High. Power, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, either alive and we living right now, or dead. You still got to deal with them. That's why, look. Hebrews 10:31. Think you're going to escape the hand of the Most High? None of us going to escape that, man. Nobody escape that. Why you can't be caught up in all these feelings, man. That's what they want right now. That's what they want you to feel and be all uptight. Hebrews 10:31. What does it say? It is a fearful thing. It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Most High. That's what he just said. That's what he just said. And we read the judgment for eating anything that's abominable. We read the judgment. You're going to be consumed in the fire of the Most High. You know, Mashiach Yahushua, when he come back to judge and make war. What he said, I'm going to read that again for you. It say, verse 26, it says, for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men. That's like what you gonna give up like Amasha say, what will a man give up for his soul? He said, don't fear him that can kill the soul, but fear him that can kill the soul, the soul and body, spirit and body, and cast you into damnation, that lake of fire, man. So he said, for though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive, you're going to escape the hand of the Most High, either alive or dead. You hear that? It don't matter. He said, you ain't going to escape the hand of the Most High, whether you living or whether you dead. That's what he's telling you. Better hear the word of the Most High. Wherefore now, and we in the Greek Empire, the so-called white man's first empire. Wherefore now, manfully changing this life, I will show myself such an one as mine age requireth. Hear that? He said, I'm going to show myself as one as his age requireth. You understand? He's 90 years old. And leave a notable example to such as be young. Say, I'm going to leave a notable example for those that be young, the young people, to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws, those same honorable and holy laws that the Most High wrote with his finger. That y'all say that we not under. The Most High wrote it with his finger. And y'all saying that we not under his law. Something wrong with that. Something seriously wrong with that. Even think like that. But that's what our people say. And y'all regurgitate just what them preachers have programmed you to say. You hear what he's saying though? It's probably why they took it, one of the reasons why they took it out. Especially when you go through the Maccabees, you see all the time that they don't want you to continue to keep the Most High's laws. They don't want you to follow his rules and regulations. He gave us rules and regulations. They tell you in 1 John 5:3, for this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and the commandments are not grievous. I told you in St. John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments. They asked him, look, I mean, this is real simple. This is not a hard thing. That's just showing you how people, why I call it Christian insanity, because it don't correlate with what the Bible is saying, period. You know, y'all following these heathens that say all they do is just have faith. And their Jesus is that so-called white man, Caesar Borgia. Well, the one that Warren Salmon drew, listen. Everybody should want eternal life. This is what it says, Matthew 19:16, and behold, Matthew 19:16 is saying, behold, one came and said unto him, good master, good, Mashiach Yahushua, because I got to stop saying that because M-A-S-T-E-R represents B-A-A-L. Selected Messiah, or someone should call Messiah. Good King, I'll just say King. What good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? And he said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the Most High. But if thou wilt enter into life, you want everlasting life. This is my Shai telling him, keep the commandments. Break that down. Make it mean something different. It said, you want everlasting life. He said, keep the commandments. You see? You got to keep the commandments. How you going to keep something that you say that you're not under, you don't know, or it doesn't matter to you? It's easy to just follow your own will. Like I say, you can go to hell any way you want to. Just don't try to take me with you. And those that's trying to make it. For real. What it says. And I ain't asking for no A-M-E-N either, because that's Z-E-U-S last name. I hear people saying it all the time. Can I get an A-M-E-N? Come on. Look it up. See, these things is the spirit that the Most High is bringing out, that I ask brothers, do you know what Z-U-S last name is? And hardly nobody know. Nobody knew. Ain't nobody ever knew that I asked. Look it up for yourself. It's Amen. The same thing that y'all saying at the end of your prayer. You giving homage to this white man's deity. Number one God, Zeus. Matter of fact, anybody out there that speaks Spanish, how do they say Jesus in Spanish? Just say the syllable slow. Hey, Zeus. Am I right or wrong? Think about it. I mean, it don't take a rocket science to figure this out. You just got to start being analytical thinkers. Man, think about this, man. Just take your time and slow down. Start thinking, and you'll see. It's not a hard thing to figure out, man. Once you start investigating things and looking for, researching things, listen. Verse 27, it says, wherefore now, manfully changing this life, I will show myself such an one as mine age requireth, and leave a notable example to such as the young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws that the Most High wrote with his finger. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him, changing the goodwill they bear him a little before into hatred. You see that? They was all for him. Come on. You can eat some goat or some lamb. And everybody the king will think that you're eating swine or whatever. No. He said, no, I'm going through the torment rather than eat some abomination. Even them think that I'm eating abomination, though he didn't. He didn't. He ain't really leave that stain on his reputation. He done lived by the laws of the Most High for 90 years, and all of a sudden y'all want him to stain his reputation behind following somebody. That happens to a lot of people too. That's why you have to be very aware, because people that don't know, they get in their feelings or whatever, and the next thing you know, you off just like Solomon. What'd he do? He got with them other strange women, made temples for them, and went in there, worshiped them, worshiped their gods, their idols, and all that stuff. That's why you gotta be aware. And you women, you gotta look at that man you with. Is he dealing with idolatry, and you gonna follow him? That man, you get a woman and she dealing with something contrary to how she should be according to the truth, being in the truth, you end up going off too. Don't matter if they're Israelite or another nation, whatever. You're supposed to be dealing with them anyway. Most High separated us from all other nations. He gave every man his woman, you see. But still, at the same time, you have to make the right decision as a man, because he called men. Did you see how they changed up on them? Oh, they lovey-dovey. Oh, man, take this, man. Eat this. It'll be okay. Just eat this. Eat something that's, not abominable. And no, so he didn't. He went to the torment, see how they changed their countenance. That's why I said, who's a real friend? They say, they that led him, changing the goodwill, they bear him a little before, come on, man, I like you, man. You my boy, man. What they do? Into hatred. Flipped it just like that. That's why he wasn't real in the first place. Because he foresaid speeches proceeded. The foresaid speeches, he said what he just said. They hated him as they thought from a desperate mind that they have. That's why people not in the spirit, they can't understand what he did. They can't relate to what he did. They can't really relate what he did because of the fact of they want him to do what they want him to do, how they want him to do it. He wasn't about that. No, I'm not doing that. He said, I'm going to the grave. I'm going to the torment. They tormented him. You're going to see how the torment was, how bad it was, man. You know, I don't know why the Spirit have me bringing this out, but I'm bringing it out because it must be very much needed to show our people how they can be off in dealing with their own feelings and stuff and really not going to make it. Or the Most High going to visit and deal with them. That's why it's very important, man, to read this Bible for solutions and get solutions out of what we're reading from the Bible. And people not gonna want to do it. They're not gonna. A lot of y'all probably don't want to stop eating pork, shrimp, crab, but you see what the judgment gonna be. He gonna get you. Verse 30. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Most High that have the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death by eating pretending like I'm eating goat or some lamb, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten, but in soul am well content to suffer these things because I fear him. You hear that? You think it's not important? The fear of the Most High, he said he suffered this pain and torment, whipping him to death because he feared the Most High and not man. And thus this man died. Eleazar died, leaving his death for an example for a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation. That's what we're reading about him. That's courage right there. Noble courage to the Most High and his laws. Not only that, we're going to continue since I'm in it like this and time is on. What he did, now let's see what happened here. 2 Maccabees 7:1. You can open up your Bible and read right along with me. It came to pass also that seven brothers with their mother were taken. This is in the Greek Empire for y'all just tuning in. We're in the so-called white man's first empire. It came to pass also that seven brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law, against the laws of the Most High, to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges, that's beatings, and whips. It's like they scourged him. I was shot like, but what about it? I washed my hands of this innocent man's blood. Didn't have him beat. Didn't scourge him. Come on. He didn't wash his hand or nothing. That's what my Shepherd Shai said. What do you say? Revelations 1:7. Revelation is the first chapter, the 7th verse. Behold, he coming with clouds. That's the chariots. The IFOs, identified flying objects, white men called UFOs. He come with the clouds. And he said, and every eye shall see him. So everybody gonna see him. So don't worry about somebody saying, oh, he's coming back this day, that day. Don't worry about it. Every eye gonna see him when he come back. And they also was pierced him, like Pilate. I washed my hands of this innocent man's blood and had him scourged. They're going to be there too in the Romans. And all you that pierced him and said it don't matter how he looked, don't matter this, that, and the third. As long as his blood was red, his blood was shed for me. And it wasn't, you don't consider yourself an Israelite when he said he only died for the Israelites. Matthew 15:24, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 1:21, and she who was married shall bring forth a son, and shall call him Mashiach Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins. Who was he? Hebrews 7:14, for this evidence of fact that our power of Mashiach Yahushua sprang out of Judah. He came out of the tribe of Judah, you see? So that's why we got to look at this and really look at how, our ancestors, how they operated in being righteous, you know? I mean, this world it's finished, man. We in the end of the world. They're not. They're in the Greek Empire. Look at, this is a mother and her 7 sons. When we're going to roll like this. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother, so this mother had 7 sons, were taken and compelled by the king against the law. You hear that? Against the law, against the law, against the law that the Most High wrote with his finger, to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. Not only that, it's going to get even deeper. It says, but one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldst thou ask or learn of us? We are ready to die rather than to transgress the law of our fathers. That same laws that our preachers are saying that we not under. But they say they rather to die. They're willing to die rather than to transgress the laws of the Most High power. The laws of our forefathers. Then the king, being enraged, got all uptight, got angry, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. They was whooping them first. Now he said, hey, boil some oil. Bring the cauldrons out. And heat them up real hot. Which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut off the tongue of him that spake first. Cut his tongue out first. Did what the Greeks did. Is this why they took it out of the Bible? And to cut off the utmost parts of his body. You hear what it said? Cut off the utmost parts of his body. So he's cutting off the arms and the legs and so forth. The rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. They looking at the first one that's being tortured. Cut his tongue off, then start cutting his arms off, legs off. Probably start at his ankle, cut his foot off. He cut up to his knee off, both legs, one after another, while his mother and his 6 brothers looking on. Now when he was thus maimed in all his members, see that? He commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. Oh, it's a lot to pay for, boy. Take him and fry him in the pan. And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, smelling him burning in that hot fire, in that cauldron, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, the Most High power looketh upon us, and in truth has comfort in us. Them following the laws of the Most High, which is the truth, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be confronted in his servants. He shall be comforted in his servants. So when the first was dead after this manner, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, that's scalping, before any so-called North American Indian did any kind of scalping, they were scalping right here. That's scalping him. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? He said, will you eat this abomination before you be punished by every part of your body? But he answered in his own language, Hebrew, and said, La, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order, as the former did. Did the same thing to him. Cut his tongue off, cut his body parts off one by one, then put him in that hot cauldron to boil to death. And when he was when he was at the last gasp of his life, he said, though like a fury taketh us out of this present life, but the King of the world shall raise us up. But the King of the world shall raise us up. Though you take us out of this present life, he said, the King of the world gonna raise us up, who have died for his laws unto everlasting life. You hear that? Say, hey, the Most High gonna raise them up. Those that have died for his laws. Come on. You tell me this ain't power? To everlasting life. After him was the third made a mocking stock. And remember, the mother is watching all of this. This is a strong woman. She watching every last one of her sons be tormented to death by the so-called white man. After him was the third man of mocking stock. And when he was required, he put out his tongue. He put his tongue out of his mouth. And that soon holding forth his hands manfully. His tongue and his hands, let you know they was cutting them up. Cut his tongue out, let you know. You're talking about members parts, put his hands out, cut them off. His tongue and his hands out to be cut off. Holding forth his hands manfully and said courageously, these I had from heaven. And for his laws, that's the Most High's laws that he wrote with his finger, I despise them. And from him I hope to receive them again. Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pains. Let me show you something. What he just said. Better understand. Cut off his hands, tongue, everything. Thus say the Most High. 2 Corinthians 5:1. Oh yeah. But we know, like he knew, that if our earthly house, this earthly body that we in right now, of this tabernacle, were dissolved, you know, the body go back to the dirt, dissolved. We have a building of the Most High. You know, we got a body of the Most High. In house, a body not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Say, for in this we groan earnestly, desiring to be clothed upon with our house or our body, which is from heaven. That's what he was saying. That's what he's saying right there. If so be that being clothed, we shall not be found naked, being exposed to the sins that we've done, man. For real, man. I mean, we got a body. The Most High, he knowing, he's telling you that. Verse 11 again, the second Maccabees 7 chase, and said courageously, these I had from heaven. You know the Most High formed him in the womb. And for his laws, for the Most High's laws, I despised them. And from him I hope to receive them again, as we just read. That body from heaven. Insomuch that the king and they that were with him marveled at the young man's courage, for that he nothing regarded the pains. I mean, he cut off his tongue, put his hands out, he cut off his hands. He could care less. He wasn't hollering and screaming at all. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mangled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good. Hear this clearly. It is good being put to death by men, to look for hope from the Most High to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life. That's right. It says for them, they don't have no resurrection of life to life. That everlasting life, they don't have that promise to them. We do. Afterward, they brought the fifth also and mangled him. Then looked he unto the king and said, thou hast power over men. Thou art corruptible. Thou doest what thou wilt. Yet think not that our nation is forsaken of the Most High. Don't even think that our nation is forsaken of the Most High, because you're able to do the things you're doing. But abide a while, and behold his great power, how he will torment thee and thy seed. You know, he's not only going to torment you, he's going to torment you and your lineage, all your family that come from you. After him also they brought the sixth, who being ready to die said, be not deceived without cause. But we suffer these things for ourselves, having sinned against our power. Hear that? Having sinned against the Most High. Understand this. First John was sin. First John 3 and 4. First John 3 and 4 defines what sin is. So they have sinned against the Most High. First John 3 and 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law. This is in the New Testament. The same New Testament that you so-called preachers claim to believe in. But you see where it's at? In the New Testament. First John 3 and 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law. The same laws that you say we're not under. You have your people thinking that they're not under. And it's going to be a judgment for that. For sin is the transgression of the law. And I must show you that. I'll keep saying it. I want to make sure that you understand. I'm not just talking about the Most High wrote him with his finger. So you'll know. Deuteronomy, the 9th chapter, the 10th verse. Deuteronomy, the 9th chapter, the 10th verse. And the Most High delivered unto me 2 tables of stone written with the finger of the Most High. And on them was written according to all the words which the Most High spake with you, the 12 tribes of Israel, in the mount, out of the midst of the fire in the day of the assembly, you see. This is what the Most High done. But see, people want to just, play around. I mean, you can't mock the Most High, man. That's what y'all doing when y'all giving the Most High your middle finger. That's what you're doing. You're giving the Most High your middle finger. When you do not want to do what he say do. That's what they're telling you. You don't have to do what he say do. You have to follow him. But follow your preacher, right? Don't follow the Most High, but follow your preacher, right? Exodus 31 and 18. And he gave unto Moses, Exodus 31:18, he gave unto Moses when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, them 40 days and 40 nights, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of the Most High. Now you're going to tell me that the Most High's work is void, null and void, just because you want people to follow you. And that's the same. Look, that's y'all got the same kind of spirit as the Pharisees and chief high priests and scribes said. Look, this is where y'all at, man. St. John 11:47. This is where y'all at, man. Y'all right here, man. This is y'all. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees of council and said, what we gonna do, man? What we gonna do? For this man talking about a Mashiach Yahushua doing many miracles. He done more miracles than put all the books of the world in contain them. He said, if we let him thus alone, we leave a Mashiach Yahushua alone, all men will believe on him. See, that's y'all problem. See, y'all want people to believe on you. That's why they walk around and they regurgitate what you tell them. Coming from the religious instructions to the Negroes, the United States of America. Turn to your neighbor and say this. And that's what they be doing. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him. And the Romans, the so-called white men, who's the Romans at this time? We're in the Roman Empire. We're not in the Greek Empire. Here in Maccabees, we're in the Greek Empire. It's the first empire of the so-called white man. Now we're in the Romans. So same so-called white man, only Italians, Caucasians say, hey. And the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. And they did that in 70 AD. Completely. Wiped us out, man. We fell in 70 AD. They took away their place and nation. And what happened to us? I'll show you what happened. I'm not sure what side prophesied about it, but we never want to listen, man. We always stiff-necked. We always hard-headed. Luke 21 and 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, now we're in the Roman Empire. Now it's not the Greek Empire. We're in the Roman Empire. Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Know that they're getting ready to bring us down. It's very near, he said. Then let them which are in the Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. You know, and that's what was written where? Preachers, all things that was written where? In the Old Testament, to be fulfilled. You read Psalm 79 and tell you what happened to us, man. He said, but woe, destruction is to them that are with child. The women are, with child. And to them that give suck, that have babies in those days. It says, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. Like we see in the wrath that we read about tonight upon us in the Greek Empire. The same people. Like we see the wrath that's coming against us right here in America. Come on. Listen what it says. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, the so-called white people, and all those joined unto them, the Romans, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Like you said it within this lesson here. You see? Until the time of their wickedness be fulfilled in the eyes of the Most High. Then he's going to bring them down. He's coming to judge and make war and set righteousness up on this earth. Simple as that. So now, let's continue. Verse 19, second Maccabees, 7th chapter, verse 19. But think not thou that take it in hand to strive against the Most High, that thou shalt escape unpunished. So you don't think you're striving against the Most High, because that's what it's about. It was always about that. Let me show you something. Go to 1st Ezra, I believe, the 4th chapter. When we were in captivity under the Babylonians, when Nebuchadnezzar took us into captivity, because most of the time we read in the Bible, the prophets are in captivity. Daniel and so forth, Jeremiah and so forth, Daniel and, Isaiah. So in 1st Ezra, the 4th chapter, the 45th verse, it says, thou also have vowed to build up the temple that we read about earlier, how they destroyed the temple with swine flesh and had harlots, selling their bodies up in this temple and so forth, and all manner of abominable things to make us unholy, make us profane. See, thou also have vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned. So a white man burned down our temple when Judea, when we the Israelites, was made desolate by the Chaldees. You see? That's what they've always done. So now here it is now, without even being around you, they got you programmed to say, oh no, we not under the law. Just like you see here. What's the difference? Ain't nothing new under the sun. You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing right here that we were doing in the Greek Empire. That's why when you get to the New Testament, Paul's going to the Israelites that scattered the lands of Corinth, Philippi, Thessalonica, and all these different lands that we were in. Having the same mindset that you see right here. When they say it was against the law to call yourself an Israelite or Jew, yeah. That's why they call themselves what? Gentiles. You see their profile. I mean, if you look at any lesson I've done on the feast of dedication, that of Mashiach Shai, he honored that. You can read St. John 10:22 down. He honored that. Y'all not honoring that. Y'all honoring Christmas. Because it come around that same time in winter. Y'all honor that. Y'all ain't honor no feast of dedication. When you dedicated the temple back to the Israelites, getting it from who? Who destroyed it? The so-called white man. That's it. Like you say, he burnt down our temple. Why? So we couldn't, you see what they say they're doing? They don't want you to be able to come back to the Most High. That's why I know it's important for us to really look into getting back to the Most High. Point blank. Y'all ain't talking about the Most High. Who? Y'all been concerned about Kwame Yasharala and this, that, and the third, or whatever, or yourself. Better know it's about him. He the one gonna be all in all, not you or nobody else, me or nobody else. He the one gonna be all in all. We the one to turn our back on him. As you read, they didn't, but he called us stiff-necked, hard-hearted, Sodom's children, minstrel club, all kind of names he called us. Why? Because all you wanted to do was to follow him. That's it. But no, we always find a way to go around it and do something else, man, and not follow him. While we're in the condition we are now. But listen, going back to our ancestors, this woman and her 7 sons, showing how it's supposed to be. How you gonna be a man and you see what this woman watching her 7 sons be tortured to death? You ain't heard nothing from her. Except for he just said, die manfully, straight up. Verse 20. But the mother was marvelous. Hear that? But the mother was marvelous above all. The mother was marvelous above all her 7 sons. And she done watched them be tormented by the so-called white man. And worthy of honorable memory. That's why we're reading about it. And her 7 sons and Eleazar. But when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of 1 day, she bare it with a good courage. What kind of woman is this? Man, this is powerful. She bare it with good courage because of the hope, that's her faith that she had in the Most High, that she had in the Most High. She bare with good courage because her faith that she had in the Most High. Come on. Y'all got that much faith, man? You really had that much faith in the Most High? She says she bare with good courage behind her faith in the Most High. This is an example, y'all. Yeah. She exhorted every one of them in her own language, Hebrew, Lashwan Kodas, ancient Hebrew, filled with courageous spirits, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. She said unto them, hear that? Her womanly thoughts with a manly stomach. Damn, she's hard, like a man. She said unto them, I cannot tell how you came into my womb, but I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you. But doubtless the creator of the world, the Most High Power, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy, which is not getting something you do deserve to give you breath and life again, as ye now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. No, come on. You gonna tell me the Most High's law is not important? They neglected their own life for the Most High's law's sake, not to eat pork. You hear this? Verse 1, and it came to pass also, just in case some of y'all coming in, you just seeing this particular video, you ain't going back to see whatever was happening before we got here. It came to pass also, this second might be 7 and 1, that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law of the Most High Power, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. That's what this is all about. Them not tasting swine's flesh. Them refusing to eat pig. Refusing to eat pork. Wow. Once again, the mother of these 7 sons is speaking of. 2 Maccabees 7 and 23 again. But doubtless the creator of the world, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as ye now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. Man, that's powerful. How many of you out there would have just ate the pork to save your life? Or went to the torment as you see this woman and her 7 sons did. Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech, this wicked Antiochus Epiphanes I'm telling y'all about, whilst the youngest was yet alive, did not only escort him by words, but also assured him with oaths, promises, that he would make him both a rich and a happy man. Trying to bribe him. Tell him make you a rich and a happy man. If he would turn from the laws of his fathers. You see, I keep saying the fathers, from the laws of the Most High. Turn from the laws of the Most High. That's why they burn our temples down. That's why they was always plotting to kill us. Like now, telling you that you don't have to follow the Most High commandments, his laws. That he wrote with his finger and got you giving him the middle finger. Think about it. Now, you ain't gonna think about it like that, right? That's what you should think about it. Because you think your preacher more important than the Most High's laws, his rules and regulations. Come on, think about it. So you know who it is, this so-called Edomite king, so-called white man king. It says, now Antiochus, thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech, a disgraceful speech, while the younger was yet alive, did not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and happy man if he would turn from the laws of his fathers, and that also he would take him for his friend and trust him with affairs. So you're going to be my friend, man. Just got to eat this pork. Bribing him. But when the young man would in no case hearken unto him, listen to him, the king called his mother and exhorted her that she would counsel the young man to save his life. This is the youngest son. To counsel the young man. Go talk to him. So I'll save his life. And when he had exhorted her with many words, she promised him that she would counsel her son. But she, bowing herself toward him, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn, spake in her country language on this matter. So she spoke in Hebrew. O my son. This is a woman talking to her youngest son. 6 of them already been tortured to death. She said, O my son, have pity upon me that bear thee 9 months in my womb. Now she's speaking in her language. And gave thee suck 3 years, and nourished thee. That's why I say our babies was nursing 3 years. 3 years. And nourished thee, and brought thee up unto this age, and endured the troubles of education. I beseech thee, my son, look upon the heaven and the earth, and all that is therein, and consider that the Most High made them all things that were not. Most High made everything from things that were not. And so was mankind made likewise, from things that were not. We come from the dirt, from the dust of the ground. Fear not this tormentor, but being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren. While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, Whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment, but I will obey the commandment of the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses. That's the law of the Most High. And y'all saying it ain't important. And thou, that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews, shall not escape the hands of the Most High. I told you. Hebrews 10:31. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. But we suffer because of our sins. Hear that? We suffer because of our sins. Breaking his commandments of the Most High. And though the living Most High power be angry with us a little while for our chastening and correction, yet shall he be at one again with his servants. But thou, you, O unrighteous man, wicked, evil, king, and of all other most wicked, be not lifted up, don't be prideful, without a cause, nor puffed up with uncertain hopes, lifting up thy hand against the service of the Most High. But thou hast not yet escaped the judgment of Almighty Most High, who seeth all things. So you didn't escape the judgment of the Most High, who seeth everything. And none of us escape the judgment of the Most High that seeth all things. His eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men and the secret parts. For our brethren, who now have suffered a short pain, are dead under the Most High's covenant of everlasting life. But thou You, wicked king, though the judgment of the Most High shall receive just punishment for thy pride. But I, as my brethren, offer up my body and life for the laws of our fathers. And you can't, that's why I say it's so important that you see this. He gave his life up for the laws of the Most High, that he wouldn't eat any swine. But I, as my brethren, offer up my body and life for the laws of our fathers, beseeching the Most High that he would speedily be merciful unto our nation, and that thou, by torments and plagues, mayest confess that he alone is the Most High, and that in me and my brethren the wrath of the Almighty, which is justly brought upon all our nation, may cease. Then the king, being in a rage, handled him worse than all the rest, and took it previously that he was mocked. So he handled him, the youngest one, worse than all of them. So this man died undefiled and put his whole trust in the Most High, put all his faith in the Most High. Last of all, after the sons, the mother died, and she watched all 7 of her sons die. Let this be enough now to have spoken concerning the idolatrous feasts and the extreme tortures that the so-called white man, Antiochus Epiphanes, put upon Eleazar and his mother and her 7 sons. There's a price to pay, man. There's a price to pay. We had to pay, like they said. They realized, hey, I got to pay this price. Every last one of us. Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived. Let them lie to you. The Most High is not mocked. But whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. What you sow, you gotta reap. Colossians 3:25. Colossians 3:25. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. See that? So you do wrong, you're going to receive for the wrong which you have done, and there's no respect of person with the Most High. And with that, I say, Krum Most High, rise Most High, Krum of Mashiach Yahushai, rise of Mashiach Yahushai, and Krum Yasharallah, and like the video and share it, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out. Shalom.